Hey, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to do a book haul revisit with you guys. Back in June 2020, I hauled some books, and so we're gonna go back and watch that video together and see which books I have read since purchasing them and which ones I haven't. And of the ones that I haven't read, I'm going to pick one out of that stack and put it on next month's TBR. If I have read all of the books, which has happened before, I kind of have a separate stack where I keep books from past book haul revisits. I kind of have them like segregated on my bookshelf, and I will pick one of those in case all the books in this haul have been read. So let's take a trip down memory lane, see what I bought in June 2020, and see what I read and what I didn't read. Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you a book haul. It's been a couple months since I've done a book haul. The last one I did was for my birthday. I got some books for my birthday at the end of March, and since then I have accumulated some more. So in this stack, I do have some that were birthday gifts that were sent to me after I had already filmed that book haul, so I want to talk about those. Some are books that I have already read, but I want them for my shelves for rereading purposes. And then the rest are, you know, your typical books that I have on my TBR that I want to read. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so the first little bit I want to talk about are the books that I got as birthday gifts. These came in the mail after my birthday, and my dear bookish friend Bobby sent these books to me for my birthday. She got me the entire box set of the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. And it's so funny that she did this because right before that I had mentioned that I wanted to dive into this series because I've only read... Okay, I'm gonna actually stop the video right there because I actually did read the entire Chronicles of Narnia last year. I read pretty much like a book every month until I completed it. So I actually, once I finished the whole series, I did a whole video kind of talking about the series as a whole, and I ranked each book according to, you know, which one I liked the best to the worst or whatever. So overall, yeah, that was a pretty good series. I would say none of them were 5-star reads, but there were a couple 4 stars. And overall, it was a pretty good series. So yeah, that one I'm gonna mark as read. And then the other thing that Bobby got me, this wasn't necessarily for me for my birthday, but she sent them to me for my daughter, which is so sweet of her to think of my kids when sending bookish gifts. It's so sweet. But I mentioned the first book in this series because we already started it. We're actually currently reading it, but it's the first 3 books in the Warriors series by Aaron Hunter, which I believe Aaron Hunter is actually a collection of authors, but I'm not sure who they are. But yeah, anyway. So the first 3 books in this series are Into the Wild, Fire and Ice, and Forests of Secrets. And this is basically a series about feral cats living in this area, and there's different clans of cats. So for example, there's like Shadow Clan and Thunder Clan, and they are sort of at war, at odds with each other. They're very, like most cats, they're very territorial and trying to protect their territories. And there's like different levels within the clans. You know, they have a leader, and then they have people that are training to become warriors, which is what our main character is. He was what they call a kitty pet, which is a house cat, who goes out into the wild and becomes a part of this clan and is training now to become a warrior. And the warriors basically protect the clan and hunt for food and things like that. And so it's a fun series. Okay, so the Warrior series, we actually did, Leia and I read the first 3 books together, the ones that Bobby got us, and we actually went on and have read 2 more past that. And there's 1 more book in the first like original series of 6 that we have to read, but then yeah, we will have completed that series. So we both really enjoyed that series. I actually was kind of surprised by how much I got into it, because when I first started reading it, I was just like, what is this, you know? But you get sucked in, you really do, and it is pretty good. So yeah, if you haven't checked out the Warrior series, you're like a cat fan at all, I think it's a fun series, especially Leia and I like read it together, and we really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's another one for the red pile. Okay, so the next stack, let's see, how do I want to do this? I'm gonna separate and do the ones I've already read. I'll do those last. So okay, here we go. So the first one on the stack I want to talk about is, speaking of Bobby, we decided we're gonna do a buddy read in August, and it's fun that I like that we chose to do this book, because the whole like reason that she and I have become such good friends, it started with our buddy read of Gone with the Wind 2 years ago. Back then, Bobby was a subscriber. I mentioned I wanted to read Gone with the Wind. I was going to read Gone with the Wind. She asked if she could read it with me, and we spent it took us, because we took our time reading it, we probably only read about 20 to 30 pages a day. So it took us a while to get through the book. So we had a lot of time to get to know each other, and now we're like really good friends. And so I really like that we are kind of taking it back to another Civil War story, and we're gonna buddy read North and South by John Jakes. This is the first book in a trilogy that deals with the Civil War, and I don't really know much more about it other than I think it deals with two families and they're clashing during this very tumultuous time. And obviously I also know it from the TV miniseries that came out, I think it was in the 80s. I've never actually watched the whole thing, but my mom was like obsessed and taped it off the TV. She had a huge thing for Patrick Swayze, definitely, and he's in the miniseries. Okay, so I did read North and South with Bobby. We actually made that our first pick for the Random Reads book club when we started it, which is so weird that, yeah, we started that book club like almost 2 years ago. Holy cow. But yeah, so that was like our first pick, and I ended up giving North and South 3 stars because it is a pretty chunky book, and it did start to feel very long and kind of bogged down. It just wasn't as like engaging to me for a Civil War story as, say, Gone with the Wind was. And it is a trilogy, and I decided I'm not going to continue with it. I just wanted to read North and South. That was good enough for me. But yeah, it was good. It had, you know, it was about two families, one family from the North, one from the South, and sort of how they kind of clashed or whatever. And so it was good, but it didn't like blow my mind, and definitely like didn't make me want to continue with the series. So yeah, that one was a 3-star read, but another one for the red pile. So the next 2 books that I want to talk about are ones that I picked up because of events going on right now in our country with the Black Lives Matter movement, the protests, the murder of Black Americans. And when hearing about these things, decided I really need to educate myself more. I need to learn how to be a better ally. And so I feel like, being a bookish person, the first way I can do that is by reading about these topics. And so these are 2 books that I heard a lot of people talk about, and one of them especially I picked up because there's going to be a buddy read of it in a few days, actually. So the first one, though, that I picked up is White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. I actually just started this. I've only read the introduction. But this is a book written by a white woman, and it's about how white people can basically come to terms with their white privilege. And for me, I think that it's really important to read a book like this, because I think oftentimes we as white people don't realize that we have privilege. We are very isolated from racism. We don't face racism on a daily basis like Black people do. And often our reaction to talking about race and racism is to get kind of defensive and to deny what's going on because it makes us uncomfortable. Even if you feel like you are not a racist, you might be taking part in things or being silent, which is also a kind of a form of the problem, you know, it's a part of the problem. And this book basically is just helping white people like myself, I'm saying white people like I'm not white, helping people like myself come to terms with this whole concept, because it's something that we are a part of whether we realize it or not. Okay. I'm gonna stop myself. I did read White Fragility shortly after I filmed this book haul. It must have been. I read it in 2020, and it was a good read. I think it's a great sort of jumping off point if you're interested in reading about anti-racism, I think that's a good place to start. Because it's a short book, it's approachable, but it's not the full picture. I think it's a good one, but don't like just read that one and then be done. So yeah, I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. It was good, and obviously one I would recommend, like I said, to people that are looking to read on topics of anti-racism. So yeah, another one. I haven't had an unread book yet. And then the other one that I picked up is because I can't remember who shared it, but there is a buddy read going on over on Instagram of this book, and I already have it all tabbed and ready. It starts on June 19th, and yeah, it's a buddy read. We're gonna read Stamped from the Beginning, The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America by Ibram X. Kendi. So in my haul, I didn't really explain what Stamped from the Beginning was about, but I read it. I did the buddy read back in 2020, and it was a 5-star read. It was fantastic. Ibram X. Kendi knows how to write great, like, nonfiction history type of books. In this one, just the way he chose to tell it, by focusing on white people throughout history. Well, no, they weren't all white. Now that I think about it. But people throughout history that were significant to the racist problem and to the later on into the anti-racist movement. It was just very, very well done. One I would highly recommend. And it ended up being one of my favorite reads of 2020. And yeah, I gave it 5 stars. It was great. So again, if you are looking to read more up on American history through that lens, that is like the perfect book to do. I highly recommend it. Okay, so then the next couple books I have are ones I haven't read and want to read. The first one is called Wicked Girls, a novel of the Salem witch trials by Stephanie Hemphill. And this is it's a book about the Salem witch trials, but it's told in verse, which I think is interesting. I haven't read very many books that are told in verse. Okay, so here we go, guys. It's the first unread book of the pile. I have not read Wicked Girls. Yeah, and I still want to, though, because it still interests me. I have been reading more books told through verse. I've read probably 3 or 4 this year. So I'm still definitely interested in that type of format, and also like the Salem witch trials is interesting to me. Yeah, so that definitely is one I still want to read, but I haven't read it. So now we have 5 read and 1 unread. And then I picked up this short little horror novel called Your Favorite Band Cannot Save You by Scott Moore. And this one I just picked up because it sounded really fun. And I think this would be a great summer read because it's about this band that is on a tour, and they fill like the big stadiums and have like tons of fans, but they also have this very strange effect on their fans. And so the book is about this music blogger who basically starts to kind of follow the band as they tour across the US to figure out what it is about this band that is so charismatic. Okay, so I read Your Favorite Band Cannot Save You. Oh, hold on, I have to let my dog out. Okay, so I did read Your Favorite Band Cannot Save You, and I think I ended up giving that one like 2 stars, I think. For some reason, I don't remember exactly what it was I didn't like about it, but I think it might have just been that it felt like it was too short, and I didn't really get a lot of like depth from the characters and stuff like that. I just, especially for like, I've read a couple of horror novellas, and I feel like that's definitely something that can be done. You can still get very deep and really get connected to the characters despite it being short, and I didn't feel that with this book. The concept was cool. But in the end, it was disappointing. It was a 2-star read. So I don't even have it anymore. I have unhauled it. I picked up Text Me When You Get Home, The Evolution and Triumph of Modern Female Friendship by Kayleen Schaefer. This is about female friendships and the kind of evolution of female friendships, the good and the bad. It talks about how things like you tell your girlfriend when you're like out for the night and you're heading home, you tell each other like, text me when you get home to make sure you got home okay. things like that, but also how women can be competitive with each other. They can be pretty catty and things like that. So it kind of looks at both sides, but I think for the most part, this is like a celebration of female friendships. And okay, that's another one I haven't read, but I still really want to. So yeah, it is an interesting topic to me and one that I still want to check out, but yeah, have not read it yet. Okay, and then the last of this haul that is a book I haven't read yet. This one, I could not believe I found this. I was at the grocery store, and when I'm at the grocery store, I always browse through the book section just in case I come across something. And this time I came across this book in the bargain bin. It was for $5.97. And I couldn't believe it because this book has also like been really popular the past couple of months because of the pandemic. And it is called As Bright as Heaven by Susan Meisner. And this is a book about a historical fiction novel about the Spanish flu. And how it affected, I believe this book takes place in Philadelphia, which was particularly hard hit during that pandemic. And so yeah, it follows that. And like I said, this was a popular book. Like I feel like a lot of people have been reading it because of its significance and relevance to what we're going through right now. Okay, so I did read As Bright as Heaven, and it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. I thought that it was a solid story. Obviously, I read it, I want to say towards the end of 2020, maybe early 2021, if I remember right. And so again, it kind of hit differently, because we're still going through a pandemic. And so you just there were things about it that prior to COVID-19, we might not have really, identified with or understood. And now we do. So yeah, it was a really good book. It had a good story, good characters. It was sad at times, of course. But it was really good. So yeah, that was a 4-star read. Highly recommend it. All right, so that's the end of the haul with the books I haven't read, because obviously I'm not going to count the ones I bought to reread, because the point of these book haul revisits is to read the books I haven't read yet, if that makes any sense. So in this haul, we had 7 read books and only 2 unread. So let me go grab those so I can choose which one I'm gonna read. Okay, so the 2 unread books from this haul were Wicked Girls by Stephanie Hemphill and Text Me When You Get Home, The Evolution and Triumph of Modern Female Friendship by Kayleen Schaefer. So, obviously both of these are books that I still would like to read, but I think I wanted to and I think I said it in the book haul, I might have cut off before I finished saying it, but I think I initially intended when I got this book to read it in the fall, because for some reason Salem Witch Trials and that sort of vibe is more of a fall vibe than a summer vibe for me. So I don't know if I'm really feeling reading about witches and stuff right now. So that only leaves Text Me When You Get Home. So I think this is the one I'm going to read. I'm going to put it on my July TBR. Yeah, I'm excited. And I'm actually really happy that I only had 2 unread books. That means as I'm buying the books, I am reading them mostly. So that's good. Good for me. All right, guys, so that's it for this book haul revisit. I hope that you enjoyed it. And yeah, I will be adding that one to my July TBR and hopefully, yeah, reading it in July. So, okay, that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week and I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.